Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barnett. That is right. We are back, baby. We had a nice little 3-week vacation. Very, very relaxing. Try to, think of some new things. Try to come up with some different ideas, and overall just got to chill, relax. But that didn't come without a whole boatload of topics that was just popping up left and right here in Boston sports. And I'm going to try to cover as much as I can, but I will tell you, there were some topics where it was astounding to me. We had the NHL trade deadline. We had the NFL free agency period that started on Monday. We also had some Red Sox news. We had the whole back and forth. Our last show was talking about Alex Bregman joining the Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox organization finally deciding to pony up that money to pay a superstar caliber player. Finally. But that also didn't come without some repercussions because he plays third base. And I think we all know who plays third base for the Boston Red Sox until he just signed. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Also, we got Jim Rice back in the news. I mean, the guy who's been on NESN for the last 10, 15 years and got elected into the Hall of Fame. He is a very, very big name. He played for the Boston Red Sox. He's been a part of the organization since 1971. So why is he in the news? Why is Jim Rice, all of a sudden on the Globe and the Herald and being talked about? That's a fun story, which proves a lot of what I've said over the past. Very true. We'll get to that in just a little bit. And then, of course, we got the Celtics. They got a big game tonight against Oklahoma State. They are number 2 in the Eastern Conference standings. So we'll discuss how the Celtics look. But first, we got to talk football. That's right. The Patriots are the number 1 story. Why? Let's face it. It's football, baby. Free agency has kicked off. And it looked like a very boring, stereotypical free agency for the Patriots. It really did. You had the Harold Landry signing come out the night prior, just minutes after the news that DK Metcalf got traded from the Seahawks to the Steelers. Now, who's going to throw DK Metcalf the ball in Pittsburgh? I think only God knows. But other than that, even Art Rooney or Ed Rooney, whoever's running the team, whatever Rooney it is, they don't even know who's going to be throwing DK Metcalf the ball. But what a receiving core that is over in Pittsburgh. George Pickens, if that kid can get his head on straight, that's a dangerous receiver right there. And DK Metcalf, a 1-2 punch, kind of reminiscent of the AB and Martavis Bryant. Yeah, Martavis Bryant duo that happened over there in Pittsburgh. But again, the $1 million question was, will the Patriots go after a guy like Metcalf? What will it take? What will it cost? Well, it cost a second-round pick. That was it. And obviously, we had a much better second-round pick than Pittsburgh did, which would have been a no-brainer for Seattle had we even offered it. Which, according to all reports, wasn't the case. So then the NFL free agency period kicks off, illegal tampering period. Legal tampering. Just want to make it right. Legal tampering period kicks off, and you had guys like Robert Spillane. You had Carlton Davis, the cornerback who played in Detroit and in Tampa Bay. You had Chris Godwin basically tell everybody who wanted to throw him the Brinks truck to piss off. I'm staying here in Tampa Bay. That's what Chris Godwin did, which, again, ruined everything that the Patriots wanted or were trying to do. Ronnie Stanley decided to go and stay in Baltimore. It really is funny how a lot of these players, for the most part, want to stay where they're at rather than, and I'm not saying that they don't want to test the open market, but they flirt with it to a point, and whether it's the team using the franchise tag 1,000 times in a row, or it's the player who's like, yeah, well, you know what? I'll take the hometown discount. I like where I'm at. I want to stay. It almost seems rare to have the big left tackle, the big wide receiver, the big quarterback actually hit the free agent market. And so when you had all those signings, it was just kind of like, I didn't mind it, but to pay like Carlton Davis, $20 million to be our second corner? And don't get me wrong, he's a good player. That's a nice problem to have, having Christian Gonzalez and Davis on both sides, two-man corners who can actually, cover their guys. So that the fact that we let Jonathan Jones walk, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it's you're looking at it going, we there's so much more for us, that more needs for us, which is left tackle and wide receiver. And what do? The tackle that they signed is a right tackle in Morgan Moses, who's 34, who's been in the league for a long time. But then I thought the Patriots made a very big splash, which really made me feel better about their free agency signings, because I'm sitting here thinking, great, whatever was going on at Fenway, on Yawkey Way, Jersey Street, is now infiltrated the hearts and minds of one Patriot place, with John Henry and Robert Kraft. And so all of a sudden, when the reports started coming out that Milton Williams was finalizing a deal with Carolina, it was like, there we go. Like, just that the guy that the Patriots desperately needed, one of those guys that they needed, they're not going to get. And he's going to friggin' Carolina of all teams. But then when you finish reading that tweet, it was, the deal is not done yet. So you're kind of sitting there going, okay, I don't mind that. I like that, but will it happen? Will it work? Can the Patriots come in the very last minute and just say, drop the proverbial bag and say, sign on the dotted line? Here it is, right out in front of you. And that's exactly what they did to some degree. But yes, that's what they did, giving Williams a 4-year, little over $100 million contract. Now, of course, you break it down between all the roster bonuses, the incentives, the per game bonuses, the guaranteed money. At the end of the day, one could argue, which it seems to be being argued a lot right now in the last couple of days, that Williams technically signed for a 2-year, $51 million deal, which, okay, I mean, either way, the kid's 26 years old. He's got a lot of growing up to do, and he's got to do it fast. And what I mean by growing up is he's played 50% of the snaps. He's not played in more than, what was it, like 7 games or something crazy like that. And I don't know if it's due to injuries or whatnot, but he's had a checkered past, needless to say. And he's primarily a pass rusher. And for a D tackle, I don't mind that. I mean, yes, ideally I would want my defensive tackle to be able to take on a guard in the center at once, two gap it. That's what I want my D tackle to do. But if Vrabel's plan is to have a 4-down line and he's using Williams as a tackle stunt or an end tackle stunt, where they're just crisscrossing basically, and he's getting around and getting to the quarterback, then you know what? I don't mind him, not being able to get the job done in the run game. As long as he's not getting gashed. But yeah, I mean, this defense, they're loading up to attack, because you don't sign Davis, you don't sign Williams and say, oh no, we're just going to do the classic Bill Belichick and, cushion. And then once you get into the red zone, then we're tightening it up. Then we're, we'll let you rack up 450 yards, but you're only going to put up 13 points. Like I don't think that's the way Mike Vrabel is going to want to attack this. And clearly, going after these particular guys, that's what I think. That's what I believe. That's what they're going to do. Now, when it comes to attracting all the free agents, right? Part of the issue that I was looking at with this was, again, what is New England? Because we would let anybody we had walk, let them get their bag. It's okay. We'll be fine. We got some Joe Schmo off the street, nobody wanted, and all of a sudden he's a key cog in either defense or offense, and we're still making AFC championship games. We're still making Super Bowls. Like, it was a piece of cake, as we all would used to say. The Patriots played 2 important games a year. It was the AFC championship game and the Super Bowl. But over the last 5 years, since Tom Brady is just, since Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft let Brady walk and say, nah, we're good. We got Bill. The dynasty that was the New England Patriots, the organization that was the New England Patriots, has drastically declined. It looks like the stock market in 1929. Over the 5 years, there was a little blip in 21, that rookie year with Mac Jones and Josh McDaniels, but then right back down the hill, especially with what happened 2 years ago. Now, the whole Drake May and how that's looking, I'm all for it. Hey, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what can happen. But the issue is still attracting players. I mean, DK Metcalf, while he wasn't a free agent, was basically going to the media, and not even basically, he told the media straight up, I don't want to play for New England. It's too cold. I don't like it. Whatever. And why did he say that? Well, he could have several people on the inside under, some players who are like, yeah, dude, it's this, that, and the other, whatever. Or he could have heard or seen what was on the 2024 NFLPA report card, which did not show a favorable light to the Patriots organization and to Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft took a massive hit. The man who has been dying to be elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And again, as I've said on this show time and time again, should he be? Absolutely. With the fact that Jerry Jones, Eddie DiBartolo, what was it? I think the Carolina Panther, former owner or the original, like a bunch of these guys who have gotten in as contributors don't hold a candle to Robert Kraft and what he's done for the NFL over the last 30 years. But do I care that he's not in the Hall of Fame? If you asked me that question 10 years ago, I would have told you, yeah, of course I care. I want my owner to be in the Hall of Fame. If Jerry Jones is in, Robert Kraft absolutely should be. But after everything that has happened, after everything that has come out, after the Dynasty Apple Netflix TV series, and just how so focused was to bash Bill, everything was Bill. You couldn't enjoy the dynasty in and of itself. So now, do I care? No, I don't. I really don't. And I wonder if part of the reason is because, again, you have report cards like this. This is the NFLPA's report card from 2023 and now 2024. When you're looking at how the Patriots stack up, the treatment of families last year was an F minus. I'm sorry. You're a billion-dollar organization, multi-billion-dollar organization. Just by getting the TV deals, that is hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, in each of the 32 owners' pocket. How on God's green earth can you sit there and tell me that your treatment of families is an F minus? And that, again, 2023, I will predicate that, but at least it got upgraded a little bit because now it's a C plus. Last year, the food and cafeteria was a B minus. 2024, it's now a C. The diet nutritionist and dietitian improved from a B minus to a B. We can take that. The locker room, though, stays the same, C minus. The training room, it downgraded from a C to a C minus. The training staff downgraded from a B minus to a C plus. And the weight room just fell off a cliff. B minus to an F. In 1 year, how did your weight room, kind of the quintessential piece to keep your players healthy, how did it downgrade from a B minus to an F? Can you explain that to me? I mean, this is basically like if I'm going in for an exam and the first semester I was doing great. I was keeping my nose to a grindstone. Maybe I took some weekends off, didn't really study that weekend or this weekend, but, I got a gist of the understanding, so I got a B minus, no problem. Second semester, I said, I got this. I don't need to go to class. I don't need to study. I got none of that. And then what happened second semester? I got a friggin' F. So, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And then to continue on, ironically, the strength coaches improved from a B minus to a B. The team travel, also B minus to an F. Talk about that in just a second. But the head coach went from a B minus to a B plus. Now, I'm not surprised that the head coach got a better grade than Bill Belichick the year prior. But if we're really going to sit there and, call out Bill and say players don't like him, he can't get along with this generation and, all these things, can we just look at that for another second? Because when you look at the head coach, it's a B minus in 2023. In 2023, Bill got a B minus when he refused to say Mac Jones' name at all during OTAs and most of, if not training camp, and then had that horrendous quarterback competition between him and Bailey Zappi. And yet, Bill still got a B minus. And then the upgrade was Gerard Mayo, who, hey, what's up, guys? I'm just a cool guy. I'm one of you. All this player relationship and tangible thing. But obviously, it didn't translate to the field. Okay, it translated maybe against Cincinnati, but yeah, you might have got a little lucky with the fact that Jamar Chase didn't practice all of training camp, and all the fact that Joe Burrow and Cincinnati are notorious for starting slowly at the start of the seasons. So I think he kind of lucked out with that one. But again, nothing changed. Okay, yeah, you got a B plus. And at the end of the day, are you surprised that it was a B plus and a better grade than what Bill Belichick got the year prior? I mean, if anything, I think it's a bigger surprise that Belichick got a B minus and not a C minus or a D or hell, even an F. With the way the media loves to portray Bill as this giant a-hole. Now, when it comes to talking to the media, I'll give him that. But when it comes to talking to his players and relating to his players, the dude got a B minus, and Gerard Mayo got a B plus because he's buddy. He's friends with them. But at the end of the day, they both had a 4-13 record. So I don't know. Spare me on the fact that Bill's an a-hole. I mean, he is to the media, and he might be, just here and there, but that's a different story. I'm just talking about the report card by the Players Association. And then the last one, the team travel. Again, this is what pisses me off. And it's not just New England. It's not. But New England also, at the end of the day, compared to all the teams in the NFL, ranked 31st out of 32nd. Can you tell me who's 32nd? Cincinnati. That's right. The Bengals. They're 32nd in the NFL in terms of the PA scorecard. Why? Because their owner is notoriously cheap. The son or grandson of Paul Brown, the man who founded the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, because Art Modell told Paul Brown to kick rocks. Hell, the Cleveland Browns are named after Paul Brown. But he went and founded the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's owned by his family. And he's rolling over in his grave, watching them rake in all this money and just be cheap bastards on that. I mean, it really is just a sad, sad story. But this is what happens when you're just born into it. Why does he need to why does Mike Brown need to go out and, spend real money to invest in a better facility, invest in the stadium, get a new stadium, get better players, keep your players? Oh, that's right, because he's a billionaire owner who is lucky enough to be the genetic spawn of Paul Brown. And the NFL just so happened to be a $1 billion organization. And so that's what pisses me off, because Robert Kraft loves to talk about how he's a fan first. He's a fan. Again, the next time I hear him say he's a fan, it's like I'm going to puke the amount of times I've heard it over the last 5 years. Not even over 25. But when it comes to this, how can you sit there and tell me that you're doing all you can for your team when you have an F in terms of team travel, an F in terms of your weight room, and a C- in terms of your locker room and training staff? And I don't know, but if you look at the if you look at the very bottom right of this graphic, I'm about to pull up one more time, it'll give you the ownership grades. Robert Kraft ownership grade in 2023 was a D+. He lost a point and now is down a D as in terms of 2024. Do you think Robert Kraft enjoyed looking at that? Do you think he was ecstatic to know that his team, his players, think that he is not doing everything in his power for the team? Now, I don't know as to, the individual gripes, and, for some people, they think the travel is just fine. For others, they hate it, and seems like the majority hated it. But it just, it blows. The reason why it blows my mind is because, again, I've talked about my time at the University of Florida and being in an SEC program. Maybe not UF per se, they just did it. They just allowed to upgrade, but schools that these guys come from in top tier D1, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Bama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, they are paying top dollar for renovating their locker rooms almost every 3 years. They have the most up-to-date weight rooms. They have these facilities that it's just for football players. No one else on campus can go in there except for the players and the staff. That's it. And yet you're telling me that they're coming to situations like you see in New England where they're finally making the millions of dollars, and this is before the NIL, of course, but even still, they're making these millions of dollars, and they have to come to a weight room that is 15 times worse than what they had at their college, where back in the day, not even that long ago, they weren't getting paid a dime, or at least they were getting a stipend. Make that make sense. Yes, the NCAA rakes in a lot of money for, the college football in and of itself rakes in a lot of money. The bowl games rake in a lot of money. The championships, all these schools bring in all this money. And they can renovate their facilities every 2-3 years. They can give you the most up-to-date equipment, the most up-to-date nutrition program, the most up-to-date training room, the most up-to-date locker room. Why isn't the NFL, whose teams are valued at least $1 billion, billion with a B, right? Why aren't they investing in their facilities? Hell, just to renovate. I mean, we all know about Robert Kraft and his giant lighthouse and the Jumbotron that is too wide than it is too tall. They could do that. Robert Kraft wanted to do that. But God forbid, he truly shelled out the money to renovate the locker room, to hell, just gut the weight room and build a friggin' new one. And the team travel, the one thing I will say about that, they do own their own planes, which I don't know how many teams actually own their own planes, but the fact that they own their own plane, maybe they need to renovate it. Maybe they need to put it to bed and rent for a few years to then reinvest into 2 more planes. I don't know. But the travel, they don't like it. Whatever it is, they don't like it. In terms of where they're going, that's a whole different story. But even still, that's just unbelievable. And then for them to not update the food or at least maintain or be better than the food in cafeteria. Good. They finally updated the treatment of families, but it's still not perfect. It's still a C+. A B I thought would have been just slightly better. But no, it's unbelievable to me that you have billions and billions of dollars and you could sit there and say that, well, yeah, you're important, but these other things. And again, I understand, that billions of dollars does go to all these different, different things in terms of paying the staff, making sure that everybody is getting their portion. To run a game day, let alone just to pay the players and the coaching staff. That's the part we all see. We don't know what it takes and what the Crafts and all the other owners are doing just to pay people to operate a smooth-looking game day. But what I'm trying to imply is that, I'm sorry, there's with the TV deals that they're signing and what the net value, the worth of these teams are, and you can't renovate, you can't pay a babysitter to watch the kids, or at least several babysitters to watch the kids for 3 friggin' hours. I mean, there's nobody in Foxborough who knows how to friggin' babysit. Come on. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not sitting here saying that, I hate the rich. The rich make too much money or anything stupid like that. But because I understand you're running a business, you have all these different facets and things that this money has to allocate to and go towards and to make a smooth operating game day. I get it. But you're telling me there's not enough to do this, that, and the other. You're telling me that you'd rather spend the $250 million or the $400 million, whatever the money was, to build a friggin' lighthouse to see what? Downtown Providence, downtown Foxborough, and maybe see Boston? or at least the skyline of Boston. Like it's not that much of an attraction. It really isn't. So again, it's just now I can kind of understand why you have to shell out these massive contracts, these massive guarantees, because not only does the team, for lack of a better word, kind of suck right now, but you're looking at it going, you have all these other issues. If they got A's across the board and Robert Kraft was an A owner, all right, maybe the fact that they're 4-13 the last 2 years doesn't necessarily bite them in the ass, because the rest of the players that across the league are looking, going, wow, look at the facilities over at Foxborough. Look at the facilities at Gillette. They are brand new. They're all this, that, and the other. And maybe it doesn't take as much money to convince somebody to come here over teams like Carolina or stay at their home in Baltimore or Tampa Bay. Maybe it doesn't. But then again, hell, it's only an NFL Players Association survey. What do they know? Well, speaking of players, there was a massive move of players come last Friday for the NHL trade deadline. And the Bruins did the right thing. I didn't think they would. I did not think they would do this. But they sold. They were sellers. Luckily, it was a seller's market. But they they shipped out, I don't want to say got rid of, but they shipped out some key pieces on their team. Charlie Coyle going to Colorado. Brandon Carlo, last minute, is now playing in Toronto. And the kicker of it all, Brad Marchand is playing for the Florida freaking Panthers. Not only was that the deal, but it was the deal where he went for a 2027 second-round conditional pick. Now, the two conflicting reports I saw about that condition were Brad Marchand is either playing for either 25% of their playoff run, I think it is, and they get past the second round, so they make it to the Eastern Conference Final, or with 50% of their games, and they get past the second round. So either way, Brad Marchand has to play an X amount of games, and they have to make it to the Eastern Conference Final for the condition to be met, where the Bruins would then get a 2028 first-round draft pick. Which, again, I was just as stunned as everybody else. I'm not going to deny that. The fact that at 3:55, and the deadline was at 4 p.m., at 3:55, you had Elliot Friedman put out a statement that was, a deal is not yet finalized, but there is a chance Brad Marchand goes from Boston to Florida. I mean, that's a wild tweet right then and there. Wild tweet. Because if you take the Rat King in Brad Marchand and you pair him with Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett being the guy who cheap-shotted Brad Marchand last year, like in the playoffs, and gave him a concussion, it was, I couldn't believe it. And a part of me was actually kind of glad, because while I love Brad Marchand, I do. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. And it is hard, because he's been in Boston for 16 years now. He's 37. He's coming off double hip surgery from a year ago. I don't want to say he's a shell of himself, but he's not playing, I think, up to what he's done in the past. And not to mention, too, you have all this crap that has come out about him just this year alone. You have Marchand talking about Jeremy Swayman and his contract issues. You have Marchand getting shoved by Montgomery. You have Marchand trying to get a broadcaster fired because he dared to run with a report that there's a rift between Marchand and Pasternak. What's the common denominator there? Brad Marchand. Now, do I know how good of a leader he was? No. Am I ever going to know? No. Is there, but at the end of the day, you can put puzzle piece A, puzzle piece B, and puzzle piece C together and kind of come to an interesting conclusion that maybe the fact that this team kind of sucked this year was kind of on Brad. Don't shoot the messenger. But again, just take A, B, and C, add them all up, and what do you get? I mean, I'm not saying that's the reason, but was it his leadership? Was he part of the issue? And then, of course, it just came out through Spit and Chicklets the other day, if not yesterday, that rumor has it that Brad Marchand was asking for, I think, a little over 7, and Don Sweeney and the Bruins were offering 6.3. Both of them came to agreement on the term that they wanted a 3-year term. But the Bruins were deadline in their stance that we're standing at 6.3. Marchand met with ownership and organization and said, listen, I'll cave. I'll go down a little bit. I'll take a discount, but I've also taken multiple discounts for this team on my last several contracts. I would like to get paid. And to my surprise, the Bruins said no. We're going to stick with our number, and either you meet it or we're going to have to trade you. And from the looks of it, from the sound of it, maybe the Bruins did Marchand a solid and settled for the deal that Florida was giving them. Now, I don't know. There's been no reports that Colorado had this offer or Vegas had this offer, but maybe Marchand, after playing the Four Nations tournament, loved playing with Sam Bennett, and respects kind of what is going on in Florida. And the Bruins did him a solid and kind of, said, hey, okay, make sure we still get a good pick out of this. But this is what we, you can have Marchand and we'll send him to Florida, the team that has just owned our ass over the last 2 seasons. I don't know. It's been really interesting to see, and not only it's interesting to see how that just transpired, how all of a sudden on the final couple of minutes of trade deadline day, the Bruins traded with Florida and Toronto. Like, what? Am I living in La La Land right now? I mean, Boston trading with Toronto and Florida, 2 teams that we've been going back and forth year after year, especially come time for the playoffs. I don't know, but I think they did the right thing by selling off pieces. I do. We need to replenish our farm system. We need to replenish our draft picks. And the crazy thing to me was, here I am thinking that, okay, with us getting rid of Marchand, Coyle, Frederick going to Edmonton, Brazeau going to Minnesota, like I'm thinking, looking at all these guys who are coming up. Now, I was at the first game with the new look Bruins playing down in Tampa, and all of a sudden, they came out like gangbusters. This friggin' team, the Providence Bruins 2.0, or I should say the Boston Bruins, who are playing as the Providence Bruins. No, that still doesn't sound right. The Boston Bruins, who have players, a ton of players from Providence playing, are just playing like they don't care anymore. They're like, hell, we skate fast, we skate hard. Well, we'll just do what we can. And you know what? We're going to play our asses off. And that's what they did. And they somehow shut out Tampa Bay in Tampa, which was a phenomenal game to watch. The fact that, what was it? I think it was Cole Koepke, who scored from in between the blue line and red line on Andre Vasilevsky. The fact that it tipped off the guy, the defender's stick as it's going, as he just chucked it in there and somehow redeflected in this bizarre way that he scored. It was kind of like you stood up going, how the hell did that just happen? And of course, it was like right in our line of sight. That was the side of the net we were on, my father and I. And it was kind of like, next thing you know, Vasilevsky's trying to skate back into the net, throws a stick out there, and the puck just go point right in the back. You're like, stood up going, everyone's kind of like confused as hell, but all the Bruin fans are standing up laughing, going, let's go. Like it was funny as hell. But even last night, the game against the Panthers, it was awesome. That third period was a team that didn't have quit. Now, I thought Zadorov, while his fight against Sam Bennett was great, it was awesome just how he threw his gloves down, gave Bennett enough time for him to drop the gloves, and then just pounded on him right in front of the Bruins net. It was with 3 seconds remaining. It was awesome. And then, of course, what happened after the refs finally get in there and break him up? Bennett has a ref basically on top of him, and Bennett just tries to lean in and kind of give him a couple sucker punches because that's who Bennett is. Again, just a cheap shot artist. That's who the Florida Panthers are. A bunch of scumbags practically. Now, will I say it to their face? Probably not, because they kicked my ass. but no, in all honesty, just the way they play, it is down and dirty. It is down and dirty. And I'll be honest, it's kind of why I love Marchand playing for the Bruins. I'm not going to deny it. He's a guy that you love to hate, but if he plays for your team, you just love him. He's scrappy. He's dirty. And it's so funny because a lot of Bruins fans still bring up the fact that he licked people like, that's disgusting. How can you stand there and root for somebody who licked a person? Number one, that's not me licking some guy who's, skating around the ice, dripping in sweat. That's number one. Number two, it sure as hell got under Ryan Callahan's skin. If you watch those replays, the minute it happened, he turned around and he was ready to go. It threw him off his game. Now, did we end up winning that series? No. But I don't know. It was a tactic I've never seen before to weasel in, to get under somebody's skin like that. Now, is it disgusting? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not disgusting. But at the end of the day, the fact that people, especially Bruins fans, sit there and act like, oh my God, how can you root for some guy like that? Simple. It got under the other team's skin. Now, of course, the NHL was like, don't do it again. And he didn't. But I don't know. If you're talking about a great way to get under his skin without having to check somebody, without having to, demean like their mother or something. Hey, it was innovative. That was for sure. So, hey, he tried it. It worked, but it didn't work enough to for us to win that series. Either way, I would like to see Marchand. You're gonna love this. I would like to see Marchand win the cup. Actually, in all honesty, I would love to see the NHL Finals be Florida and Colorado again, or actually not again, but Florida and Colorado. I'm mixing up when Colorado won, they played Tampa, not Florida. But I think that would be funny. Charlie Coyle, Brad Marchand, going at it in the Cup final. At least somebody's getting a cup. So, I mean, I think that would be cool to see. But at the end of the day, Don Sweeney did the right thing. And I can't believe he did that. I didn't think the Bruins had it in them. I really didn't. But that was something that I think really was the right thing to do, not only from a team perspective in terms of putting yourself under the constraints of a $6-7 million player who I honestly don't know how many years the dude's got in him. Again, he's a year removed off double hip surgery. That's kind of important. It's kind of important. He's 37. He's playing on 82 games, skating on, hard patch of ice, getting checked into boards, taking all these massive hits, falling down. I guarantee you, if somebody gives him a contract for more than 3 years, more than 2 years, I think that team's going to regret it almost instantly. And that's not to say that Marchand's not a great player. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying durability-wise, he's coming up to it. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope he comes back here and finishes his career out of Bruin, but at those numbers, I just don't see it happening. I really don't. So, and not for nothing, with the way these kids are playing, give me more of it. Yeah, I mean, I would like a top draft pick, but is there a generational talent in this upcoming draft? Is there a guy out there who is a bona fide stud, a first-year NHL player that we could have the ability to get if we just lose from here on out? I mean, not for nothing. I think this 2-0 spurt that they're on, this attitude that they have, the way they're playing, I think they're going to keep playing like this. I just think eventually, whether it's next week, the week after, or 2 weeks from now, I think it's finally going to come and smack them in the face and say, no, you're not as talented as this team, that team, and that team, so you're going to get your asses handed to you, even though you love to get out there and play hot. Is it going to be one of those, or is this team literally or legitimately going to make a run, even though they're not that good? They're not that good. So, hey, I would like to see the run. I would like to see them try to make that playoff run. But if all of a sudden the next couple of games they get smacked around and smacked in the face, then I think it was just a trade deadline enthusiasm where these guys are like, all right, we're playing for our jobs now. Let's go out there and just give it all we got and see what happens. But again, only time will tell with that. And so the next topic is kind of an interesting one. Going from one player, disgruntled player, to another disgruntled player, and the first one being allegedly disgruntled. This one is definitely disgruntled, whether he'll tell it to you or not. The Boston Red Sox signed Alex Bregman. That was the last show we had. We discussed the Alex Bregman signing and how the Red Sox finally ponied up the money for it. But with that, the whole report, the whole world was saying, oh, well, Bregman's going to play second, Devers is going to play third, and if one of the kids is going to come up, if Campbell is going to come up, and, maybe he can make a run at second and Bregman can play third and Devers will play DH. Well, basically the last 3 weeks, if not last month, have been just a cluster with media going to Rafael Devers saying, hey, are you playing DH? What's going on? Are you going to play DH or are you going to play third? And Devers kind of putting up a fuss, just saying, I'm playing third. Third's my spot. No, I'm not playing anything else. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just playing third. I'm playing third base. And Alex Bregman, to his credit, is a big team first guy, big leadership guy, a guy that we desperately needed. I think that's the other thing. I think his leadership ability is going to be so instrumental in this season for the Red Sox. But Bregman was like, I'll do whatever the team tells me. I'll do whatever the team tells me. Whether that's second, whether that's third. But the interesting thing of it all is that Bregman has taken 0 reps at second base. 0. He's been playing at third. Devers has been playing at third. But Devers hasn't played in the spring training at all. He was supposed to come back a week and a half ago, but they said, no, he needs more time. So they gave him a couple more days. Supposed to come back then, didn't. Pushed back to, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. Said, nope, he's not coming back. And now it's pushed to, okay, maybe Saturday. Devers will be back on the field playing. Which, I don't know. It's been a week and a half. Now, I understand the dude dealt with shoulder issues all of last season, if not the majority of last season. I understand that. But what bothers me about this is I want him to get healthy. If there wasn't this fuss of him playing third or going to the DH spot, then I would just be like, you know what? I don't care. Let the dude get healthy. Let him use the month of April. Let him use the first couple weeks as get right games. Maybe we'll slide him into, DH and every now and then we'll get him to third or, something like that. Because again, there's no fuss. Devers is like, yeah, I'll gladly play DH or I'll gladly do what the team wants me to do. But that's not how it is. That's not what it is. And no matter how many times, you can get the quotes that say, oh, well, Devers doesn't care. Devers doesn't care. No, he does. He clearly does. When they say that, oh, Rafael Devers is I don't know why it's being made such a big deal. It's being made a big deal, pal, because you're the problem. You won't say the simple words of, I'll do what the team tells me to do. And when you want to talk about saying simple words, there's another player who plays on the other end of the diamond who's full of himself when it comes to words. But sticking with Devers here, it's unbelievable. Like, all you got to do, if you want to make a fuss to Alex Cora, go in the manager's locker room when no one's around and bitch about everything that's going on. But when you're talking to the media, all you have to say is, I'll do what the team tells me to do. Again, Marshawn Lynch, I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here so I won't get fined. It's not hard to repeat yourself. So, Devers, do you want to play third base or do you want to go to DH? I'll do what the team tells me to do. So, Devers, if you want to play third base, but Alex Bregman is a third baseman, would you be okay if Alex Bregman took over for third base? I'll do what the team tells me to do. It's that simple. I don't know what is with this young talent that is playing for the Red Sox, but they're moronic enough not to say simple phrases that are just uttered across all of sports. All athletes know this so that they don't create this type of controversy. You keep it behind closed doors so that the media doesn't get wind of it. And if the media does get wind of it, it's a very simple thing to sit there and say, I'll do what the team tells me to do. I don't know where those reports came from. They're totally false. I'm here. I want to win. I'll do what the team tells me to do. Hello? I mean, come on. So, yeah, it is kind of crazy to sit there and see, like, again, signing Alex Bregman, you kind of knew that he was going to possibly impede on your territory. Why? Because while Rafael Devers might be the overall better player and better hitter as it stands right now than Alex Bregman, Bregman's won a Gold Glove. Bregman is a better defender than Rafael Devers. And I would rather better defense, and especially when we're talking about, a position where, again, it's you're going side to side. You have to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. There's a reason why the third base is called the hot corner. All right? Like, it's not hard to figure out. So if we're looking at this from a proper perspective, and this also is predicated on the fact that Christian Campbell is doing his job and showing Red Sox brass, I deserve to be up here. I deserve to be playing with major leaguers, if not offensively, especially defensively. Or if my offense is good enough, but my defense is excelled at second base, then there are no issues. It's automatic. It's automatic that Campbell's second, Bregman's third, Devers is DH. And not for nothing. That's what made the National League more entertaining, to be, in my opinion, was that you actually had to figure out who's playing in the infield and who's going to be sitting on the bench, because you wanted your best guys in, but the pitcher was hitting. And that's what I loved about it. That chess game, that extra chess piece where the pitchers had to hit. Nowadays, the Major League Baseball copped out. And they're like, just like every other sport out there, it's like, oh, we want more offense. So they're like, okay, we're going to take out this integral piece that was a part of the National League and what made it so great and how the differences between the two leagues. They're like, nah, we're just going to take the DH spot and move it to the National League too. So, again, this whole thing with Rafael Devers, if he's sitting out just for shoulder issues, that's one thing. But with everything else that has gone on, with this team and, from the signing of Bregman to Devers' press conference, to Cora talking about it, to Bregman talking about it, you're sitting there going like, it's not. It cannot be. Again, similar to Brad Marchand, you put puzzle piece A, B, and C together. What do you get? Something that kind of looks suspicious here. So that's kind of the interesting portion of that with, Devers versus Bregman. Is that really going to come to a head? Is Bregman actually going to get any reps at second before opening day? I mean, if there's all this talk about him playing second, then why not give him a rep, a game at second, just to see? So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. And frequent commenter, Sports Mom, what would your starting infield for the Red Sox be this year? My starting infield, well, I would have to put Devers at third. Devers at third, excuse me. I would have to put Devers at DH. I'm thinking of Devers, but I'll put Bregman at third if I'm going defensively. Bregman at third. I'd put Rafael at short. And then I've tried to watch some of these spring training games, but I hope Campbell's been doing a damn good job, because I put him at second. If not, I think I'd put Hamilton there. And as much as I can't stand this guy, because he is the biggest buffoon, I think, on this team, it's Tristan Casas at first. I mean, like as it stands right now, that's what I would do. But I don't know with Casas, man, that dude is driving me up a freaking wall. But speaking of driving me up a wall, Jim Rice, who I mentioned at the start of this show, he's been with the Red Sox organization since 1971. The dude is an 8-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 3-time home run leader, MVP, is in the Red Sox Hall of Fame, got his number retired, which is sitting in right field, and is the Major League Baseball Hall of Famer as of 2009. So, he's been with the organization since 1971. He's been working with Nesson for at least the better part of a decade. And he is at every spring training. He's enjoying himself. He's just kind of sitting back. He's hanging out. And when players come up to him and ask him questions, he'll gladly give his thoughts. You know, he was a hitting coach for the Sox from 95 to 2000. The man's done a lot when it's come to the sport of baseball. So the story came out by Alex Spear as of, what's today, the 12th? So as of Saturday, this report by Alex Spear came out talking about Jim Rice. Because the headline is Jim Rice had a heated conversation with a Red Sox staffer after he offered a hitter advice. Here's what Rice said happened. Now, the fact that it says, here's what Rice said happened, it shouldn't be, here's what Rice said. It should read, here's what happened. Because, no, this is a very simple, cut and dry, black and white story. Rice's story is the right story. Because what's going on with this is, so Jim Rice, who goes on, he's talking about how he's been with the league or been with the Red Sox, and he's talking about his time. He's like, I really do have a role. He's like, I do Nesson, working for the studio, and article reads, Rice still enjoys being around the game, the organization that has been a part of his entire adult life. He's forged close relationship with active members on the roster, such as Ortiz. David Ortiz told him once, quote, 4 eyes are better than 2. He's worked with Jackie Bradley Jr., but Rice tries not to impose his thoughts about hitting or the game unless solicited. You know, Jim Rice went on to say, quote, they don't want my expertise, so what do? Keep your mouth shut, you observe. And then when you have the chance to say something, you say it, okay? The occasion contributed, the occasions to contribute, Rice said, are rare, a contrast to his recollection of his baseball upbringing. When he tried to sponge around teammates, former players, and baseball lifers, such as Carl Yastrzemski, Ted Williams, Johnny Pesky, Rax Slater, Eddie Popowski, and Dick Bernardino, quote, I learned a lot from those guys. Just sit there and keep your mouth shut and open your ears, said Rice. Quote, that's the way Freddie Lynn, and I, as rookies, in Winter Haven in 1975. Okay? He learned from the best. He learned not just from the best when it came to hitting. He learned from the man who wrote the book on hitting. Again, all this stuff now are just segments and fragments of what Ted Williams taught and what Ted Williams wrote about when it came to hitting. So, still, right, going back to the article here by Alex Spear, still, Rice said he avoids volunteering his philosophical objections. He recognizes that players' primary instruction can and should come from the full-time hitting and pitching coaches. That's good to know. It's good to understand that, hey, Rice gets it. Jim Rice gets it. Come on now. But last week, Rice said he was watching a young Red Sox player hit indoors. The player approached him for feedback, specifically about drifting forward in the batter's box rather than keeping his hands and body in a properly loaded position to create harder contact. Asked for his thoughts, Rice offered them. And then, according to Rice, an unidentified staffer, which, first of all, I want to know who this staffer is, but we'll get to that in just a second. According to Rice, an unidentified staffer intervened, saying the Hall of Famer's advice didn't align with the team's approach. Quote, "It was something I didn't like because I felt like I was disrespected," said Rice. "I didn't throw myself on anyone. I'm sitting down, having a coffee. Nobody's bothering me. Someone comes over and asks me a question. What am I supposed to say? I didn't go and get this kid. I didn't go and bring this kid and say, hit like this. He came over and talked to me." That's where I got ticked off, Rice added. Quote, "I hear the team doesn't want it taught like this. We want to hit the ball in the air and hit it hard." I'm like, quote, "Hey, we weren't talking to you. We were talking. This is our conversation." Rice said he asked the staffer in question whether he'd played and was told no. Rice said, quote, Rice said he responded, "Then you can't talk to me. Look at the video monitor, do what you do, and don't talk to me." Why? Because this unidentified staffer had the balls. I'll give him that. He had the balls to go to a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, a 2-time Silver Slugger, MVP, 8-time All-Star, who has led the league in home runs 3 separate times, to say, no, that's not how we teach how to hit. You don't know how to hit in today's day and age. This is the problem that I have with nerds. These freaking people, not only, number one, don't know who Jim Rice is, who has been around the Red Sox organization as a player, a coach, and a media analyst for over 50 years. He doesn't know the history of this team, where just, I don't know, look out from your booth, and when you see the field, you see Pesky's pole. Can you tell me who that is? Can you tell me who Johnny Pesky is? Unidentified staffer, or any nerd out there who works for the Boston Red Sox? $5 says you can't. Secondly, when you look out and you see Pesky's pole, what's above that? Oh, you see these random numbers aligned? Do you see a number that's circled there that says 1-4? Do you know why there's no Red Sox wearing number 14 on their jersey? Simple. It's because of that man. That man, Jim Rice. These nerds today do not understand how to play a sport. They think that they can develop this analytical jargon. Look at how the computer says you actually should swing. You should golf the ball and just hit it as hard as you can and get it sky high, rather than what real athletes were taught. And it goes against everything that sports is about. This is why I have a hard time sitting here agreeing with all these people, all these nerds who want to sit there and tell me that expected runs is just as important as runs, that expected batting average is just as important as batting average. You people are out of your mind. That is not how sports are to be played. Okay? Jim Rice is a Hall of Famer. If you work for any sports team in any league and you can't tell me the history of that team, you should be fired on the spot. What's the problem with that? And I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about the staffers. The people who want to do this type of nonsense work that is all about just plugging numbers into your computer. Just, okay, 2 + 2 is 4. 3 + 3 is 6. And that's how it's going to predict the launch angle and all this nonsense, the spin rate on the baseballs. That's the issue here. And then to make matters worse, you have the chief nerd himself, Craig Breslow, who, yeah, he's a former player, but the way that this man thinks, the way that this man talks, he's not a former player. He doesn't get it, because Breslow's comment, this spoke volumes about where not only this team is, but where these nerds are and how they think they're so important to what sports are to be in the future. Breslow texted a quote, "We have a deep respect and admiration for anyone who has put on a major league uniform. As someone who is fortunate to carve out a career in the major leagues, I especially appreciate the challenges players face. Our organization is steeped in history and tradition, and we believe our path to lasting success requires a blend of traditional wisdom plus modern training." The dude didn't even mention Jim Rice by name. It was hey, ChatGPT, how can I make this situation blow over with the most generic statement possible that covers everything that I need to say? That's what that was. That was a computer automated response that no sane human person, no sane being who is a human would write up. If anything, it should have been a massive apology to Jim Rice to say, "Jim, we are so sorry. That is not how we should have treated you. We should have welcomed your wisdom and tried to blend your wisdom with our technology." It should have been something along those lines. But no, he's an automatron. He's a computer. He's a robot, just like all these other nerds all across the sports landscape. Am I generalizing? Yeah, but you know what? I'm also right. So it's absolutely despicable how Jim Rice was treated and how you have former players who, again, it's not like Rice was trying to, and again, I don't know who the player was, but let's just say it's Marcelo Meyer. Jim Rice is not trying to tell Marcelo Meyer, I saw this is what you were doing in practice today. This is what I saw you doing in the cages. No. You're doing it wrong. This is how you do it. No, he's sitting back. He's holding his mug. He's just like, "Yep, okay." "Oh, you want my advice? You want my advice? Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'll glad to give you my advice. Okay, yeah, what you're doing is you're drifting forward, blah, blah, blah." That's what it was. And the fact that the staffer had the cojones on him to sit there and say, "That's not how we teach it, Jim. Don't stop doing that. That's not how we teach it." Like, I am stunned. Absolutely stunned. And again, it just goes to show I'm right. When it comes to these nerds, I'm right. We need to get nerds out of sports and start relying on our past, on the wisdom of the men who played, the knowledge that it came from them. Again, that's what made generations grow and love sports. Like I can't sit there and just it blows my mind. Perfect. My phone died. So maybe that's just a great way, a great segment to move on. But ultimately, again, Jim Rice is 1,000% in the right. The Boston Red Sox, as an organization, and all of their nerds are in the wrong. It is cut and dry. It is black and white. There is no gray in this matter. It's that simple. So moving on, it is 8:20. The Boston Celtics just kicked off, or not just kicked off, but they tipped off at 7:30 in what is another highly anticipated matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it really should be a good game. The Celtics have been on just an absolute roll over the last, couple weeks here. They have gone on and won. They've lost 3 times dating back to February 2nd, or actually dating back to January 29th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 games, and they're 15-3. I don't know about you, but that's a hell of a spot to be in. And it was funny because earlier today I saw a tweet come out that was saying, who's got the better starting 5, the Thunder or the Celtics? And I'm like, wow, that's a really hard question. One starting 5 has done nothing, basically, while the other starting 5 has been in the Eastern Conference Finals almost consistently and also has won a championship and been to 2 NBA Finals. Yeah, that's a really hard question. Who does have the better starting 5? It's the Celtics. Hands down, bar none. Anybody wants to argue with me on that, please come try, because you can't. You're going to lose. It's the Celtics. And this whole SGA stuff is just utter nonsense. Jayson Tatum is 1,000%, or should be, the face of the league. Why isn't he? Simple. Because he's underassuming. And he's all about the team stats. He is. Look at his averages, right? When you look at Jayson Tatum and what the dude is averaging just on a statistical basis, yes, he's getting his own. There's no doubt about it. But he's averaging 27.2 points per night, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. 27, 9, and 6. That, to me, sounds like a player who wants his team to win. Right? That's what he wants. He wants his team to win. He's just underassuming about it. Enough for nothing. I don't have a problem with that. I don't need an Anthony Edwards who's all up in my face, who's saying, oh, I need to shoot the ball 100 times a game. I need to do this. I need to do that. It's like, no, dude. As much as basketball is an individual sport, you still need a group of guys around you who can play and who can score the basket just as much as you can. Maybe not to the extent you can, but can still happen. So when you're looking at tonight's game, it's going to be an interesting one because you got the Thunder, who have the most points per game, have the better field goal percentage, and do have the slightly better opponent points per game on the defensive side. But the Celtics are better at shooting the 3 and get more rebounds per game. So, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't expect to see, I don't expect to see the Thunder blow us out. I don't expect the Celtics to blow them out of the water. But even if the Celtics lose tonight, do I still feel that they have the best starting 5? Absolutely. Because, again, at the end of the day, it's the regular season. I'm not discounting the regular season. If anything, you could sit there and laugh at my prediction at the start of the year. It was absolutely laughable, what I predicted. Here, I'll even show it to you. I thought the Celtics would go 60-22, and the Cavaliers would be 47-35 coming into the fifth seed there, or the 6th seed there. Boy, was I wrong. And I got no problem admitting it. But, yeah, to sit there and tell me that, the Celtics, they're second in the East behind the Cavaliers. They got a 47-18 record. They're 15-3 since January 29th. I don't know about you, but that's pretty damn good. So I'm expecting a close game tonight. I think the Celtics can still pull it out. As long as they keep it close, I think they can pull it out. And it's going to be a fun one. So that's literally what I'm about to turn on. But first, I just want to thank you all for, again, sticking with me, listening to me. It's been great. I'm glad that I had that little vacation. Now I'm back. We're going to be coming back at you every Wednesday. There are discussions where schedule might get moved around, but I'll be sure to keep you guys posted. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. All right, down below, you got all the socials. You got Boston Sports Summit on Instagram. On Twitter is where I'm definitely most active. But we're on YouTube. And then, of course, we got the Grid Network. Please like, share, subscribe, follow them as well. Ton of great shows. We got the Bi-Coastal Baseball, which is the Grid Network specific baseball only show. They go in depth, a lot of great insight there. Though the guy who is hosting it is a Yankee fan, so I don't know about that. Nah, I'm just kidding. He's a great guy. But yeah, listen. Go like, share, subscribe. Thank you all again so much. I really do appreciate it. And as always, hope you have a great rest of your week. God bless and go Boston. It's all about the Boston sports, baby, on the Boston Sports on the Boston Sports Summit. That's what we're all about. Can't you tell behind me? That's right. So my name's Tim for the Grid Network and the Boston Sports Summit. Thank you all, and I'll catch you here next week. God bless.